To celebrate Halloween, I, Fafa Bear 8, am proud to present Curious George Goes to a Costume Party, written and illustrated by Margaret and H.A. Ray. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were on their way to a party at Mrs. Gray's house. Curious George could not wait. He liked parties. And he was looking forward to seeing Miss Gray. But when the door opened, George did not see Miss Gray at all. He saw a witch! Don't be afraid, George, said the man with the yellow hat. This witch is our friend. The witch took off her mask. It was Mrs. Gray at all. Oh dear, she said. Did I forget to tell you how this was a costume party? George had never been to a costume party before. Inside, he saw more people that he knew. They were all wearing costumes. There was his friend, Bestie, dressed up like an astronaut. And where was that Bill? Why, he looked just like a mummy. George wanted to wear a costume, too. I have some dress-up clothes upstairs, said Mrs. Gray. Would you like to use them to make a costume, George? Mrs. Gray took George to a room with a big trunk with clothes. Borrow anything you like, George, she said. I have just the thing for your friend downstairs. George tried on lots of costumes. The first was too big, the next was too small, another was too silly, and this one was too scary. Excuse me. At last! Sorry. At last, George found a costume that was just right. George was a rodeo cowboy. He wore a vest and pants with fringe. He even had a lasso and a hat. Excuse me. If he only could see himself in the mirror, George was curious. Could he see himself if he stood on the bed? No, he needed to jump higher. George bounced on the bed just a little, but he still couldn't see. Maybe he could get a little more closer to the mirror. He bounced a little more and a little more. Soon George was having so much fun that he forgot all about looking in the mirror. He bounced as high as he could until what happened next? Well, dear YouTuber friends, let's turn the page and find out. Crush! George bounced off the bed. He smashed into the night table and got tangled up in the tablecloth. Suddenly, everything went dark. George and the people downstairs gasped. What was that? Was that a ghost? A ghost? George did not want to meet up with a ghost alone. He dashed outside of the room and went down the hall. He wanted to get back to his friend in a hurry, and he knew the fastest way. story unsealed. Whoosh! Down the stairs. Another ghost! Someone screamed. Everyone turned. They looked scared. And they were looking at George. The ghost must be right behind him. George flew off the rail and landed. Plop! In the arms of a farmer. But this wasn't really a farmer. It was his friend, the man with the yellow hat. Soon everyone stopped looking scared and started to laugh. That's not a ghost. That's a cowboy, laughed the policeman. That's not a cowboy. That's a monkey, giggled the princess. That's not just any monkey, said Bestie. Said Bestie. It's Curious George! Everyone clapped and cheered. They liked George's Halloween trick. You gave us all a good scare, George, said Mrs. Gray, and I'm glad I to see you found some interesting costumes. Now why don't I take your costume off so you can join the party? After the guests boxed for apples, lit jack-o'-lanterns, and played some party games, prizes for the best costumes were handed out. There was one prize for Bestie, and one for Bill, and two for Curious George. You were the best ghost and the best cowboy, said Mrs. Gray. Everyone had a good time at the party, especially George. Too soon, it was time to say goodbye. Good night, George. Happy Halloween!